friends, today it's time to balance the books of July. So if you've seen my June balancing the books, which I feel like there's so many new people now that you might not really know what balancing the books even is or have seen last month's episode. So just quick introduction, sorry for everybody who already knows the gist of it, but like every month I just look at everything that I've read or DNF'd or got rid of and everything that I have bought or received and just kind of try and balance that number so that my TBR doesn't get even more out of hand than it already has. This doesn't have like super strict rules. In the beginning of the year, I was kind of saying how I definitely want them to be equal every month, but that the goal is to have -3, but then it didn't really work and I had already gotten rid of some stuff and still wasn't really getting the numbers. So in June I decided to go on a book buying ban, and I didn't really talk too much about like the rules, but for me the most important thing during July was to stick to the book buying ban. I didn't really care so much about having the numbers equal because in a way it was no longer really my responsibility because everything that went onto my TBR is arcs, and it's a little bit hard to just kind of time that in a way that makes it possible to actually balance the books. But the thing is, I did actually buy one book, so I feel like maybe we should do something about that. But as always, I feel like before I actually really get into it, we're just gonna look at everything that went onto my TBR and of my TBR this month, and then we can get more into it. So in July, I got an arc of Beautiful Dreamer, which I have already read. I bought 2 books in a Kindle deal, which I did mention last month were kind of not part of the book buying ban because cheap ebooks, like I always want to buy them if they're available. The first one was All Eyes on Us and the other was The Ember Blade. I also got an arc of The Girl the Sea Gave Back. I got an arc of Reverie. I got an arc of Playing House, which I've already read. Then the one book that I bought this month was Blanca y Roja. I got an arc of We Were Promised Spotlights. I got an arc of Mooncakes, which I have already read. I got an arc of Bone Crier's Moon, and I got an arc of Avant-Gardes Volume 1, which I have already read. So that is everything that went onto my TBR. Obviously a shit ton of arcs. I really usually don't get that many arcs in a month. That is pretty wild. But let me get into everything else that I have read. I read A Little Light Mischief. I read Always Never Yours. I read All Systems Red. And I read The Miseducation of Cameron Post. I started this month with 129 books and I'm ending this month with 132 books. Now, first and foremost, let me say I am so very proud of myself that I did incredibly well with my book buying ban. Blanca y Roja I knew would fit into my August TBR. If you haven't seen it, I'm reading books that Melanie loves, and this one is one that I'm particularly excited for, and that just the way she talked about it intrigued me so much. So when I saw that this was available, I just had to buy it. So definitely cutting myself some slack about this one because this is something that I will immediately read. It's not something that will just chill on my shelf for the rest of my days. It is something that will actually be read in August. So yes, technically I broke my book buying ban, but I'm so happy with how I did overall that this is for me totally fine. Other than that, I was so super strict with myself this month and I read so much from my TBR. On top of that, I read 2 of the arcs that Melanie sent me, which I never added them onto my TBR, so now they don't count as books off my TBR, but that's something that I'm really proud of, and I'm just feeling incredibly happy with this month, and like that's what I want. Yes, my TBR is like 3 bigs bigger now than it was before, but I'm just feeling so good about this month, which also means that even though I understand that technically with the rules that I set for myself in the beginning of the year, I should get rid of 3 books, I just feel like because I did so well with the book buying ban, I will not. Also, literally at the end of July, I was in the middle of 2 books where I am still not sure if I am gonna DNF them. I still have not made my decision if I actually want to DNF them. So technically this could have been ones that went off my TBR this month, but I just couldn't quite get myself to actually do it. So I kind of feel like, you know, that's another thing, like I'm very close to like finishing / DNFing those. And yeah, again, I just feel good. I feel very good about this month, and I also feel very good about what's to come in August. Again, if you haven't seen my August TBR, I am planning to read so many books from my TBR. don't really plan to read a lot of audiobooks that are not on my TBR, don't really plan to read a lot of graphic novels or just other random library stuff. And so I just feel like August is going to be a really amazing month for my TBR. And so I have decided that for August, I will stay on my book buying ban. I think I would have stayed on the book buying ban regardless of how July went, just because I was genuinely really enjoying being on a book buying ban. I know that sounds totally wild, but it just felt really good for me to know that I'm actually kind of somewhat working towards my TBR, even though it doesn't show in the numbers. With having read books like Always Never Yours or The Miseducation of Cameron Post, I wasn't just reading arcs, I was actually reading books from my physical TBR. And so I felt very good about the book buying ban, but also I just feel like, considering that I have not managed to reduce my TBR in July, not only do I want to stay on the book buying ban, I also definitely feel like I have to stay on the book buying ban. And I feel like if I was just like, oh yeah, like I did so well in July, I'm not really sure if I'm going to continue with the book buying ban, I definitely would buy a shit ton in August, because I know myself. If I don't set like a strict rule, I don't fucking stick to it. So for August, I am actually putting it out there again. I'm staying on my book buying ban for another month. The one exception I have to that is my pre-order of Sea Witch Rising. I've pre-ordered this months ago, and it is just one of my very, 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 very highly anticipated releases. So that for me doesn't really count. But again, this is mostly about like just random mini mobs books that I buy anyway, just random used books that I will not get to in the next couple of months, years, whatever. So I feel totally fine about a pre-order that I will probably read more or less immediately as it arrives anyway. And yeah, again, just looking at my August TBR, just looking at the plans that I have made and looking also at the fantastic reading mood that I am in, I think that August is going to be a really amazing month for my TBR. I definitely feel like in August I can probably reduce my TBR by like 5 books, I feel like. Maybe even more, but I don't want to, shoot too high. But I have such a good feeling. So I am not getting rid of anything today. I'm just putting it out there right now that I am gonna stay on a strict book buying ban. I know, I feel like it hasn't been as exciting recently just because I'm like not struggling to get rid of something. But for me, it's honestly been really exciting just with everything. And honestly, having Balancing the Books also really makes me appreciate how many arcs I get at this point. Obviously, I said before, I am auto-approved for Macmillan arcs, so that's obviously a huge thing, but I only download those once I actually have time to read them, so these are not even on here. And then I know that basically everything I request through Harper, I will get accepted for, but these are like exceptions. A lot of these are from NetGalley, which is so unusual. And so I just feel like Balancing the Books does so much good for me, not just for my TBR, but also just for how I feel about like just my place as a reviewer and stuff like that. I don't know. For me, Balancing the Books is still fun. I hope it's still fun for you too. And again, I'm just hoping that next month is actually going to be the first month where I will really properly just have a lot of minuses in this video. So keep your fingers crossed for me. Or maybe don't. Maybe you want to see me suffer. I don't know. I feel like most people are being so supportive. Even if I had a month where I had like +5 books for no reason at all, just because I was feeling like it, people would still be like, you're fine. Like, just treat yourself. If August isn't as amazing as I am currently thinking it's gonna be, I should come up with something to like properly like punish myself. And if it's just getting rid of a couple of books, again, I don't really think there's currently anything on my TBR that I want to get rid of, but I feel like if August sucks, then I will just have to force myself. Maybe I will do like a trash my TBR or something like that. But I'm staying hopeful, not putting these negative thoughts out into the world. And yeah, I think that's just everything I have to say regarding my July Balancing the Books. I know a lot of you are doing something similar as well, so as always, let me know your progress. I especially want to know if you participate in the Reading Rush and if that helped you, because it certainly helped me. Like, Reading Rush did wonders for my TBR. And yeah, I make new videos every Wednesday and Sunday with occasional reviews on Friday. So click subscribe to never miss anything and hit the little bell so you get notified as well. Thank you so much for watching. I guess I'll see you soon.